Hello and welcome to Temporarily in China. And today I want to talk about 5 things that I love about living in China. First and foremost, I think it's safety. In my opinion, China must be one of the safest countries to live in as a foreigner and as a woman. You can go out at night and feel safe, which is something I really appreciate. And I think it's because, first of all, there are cameras everywhere, and overall, I think China has low crime rates. After 7 years of living in China, I was never mocked or harassed. I only had one negative experience, and it was when I first came to China. A taxi driver tried to scam me, which, yes, it left a bad taste in my mouth, but it never happened to me again. Another negative experience that I had was when I went shopping to the mall and some guy came up to me and he began cleaning my shoes, and I asked him to stop, but he was very persistent. And this whole situation was really awkward, but in the end he was really trying to sell me some product and it was like 100 kwai, and I ended up buying it because I just wanted him to leave me the fuck alone. But yes, after 7 years of living in China, I can only come up with 2 negative experiences that I had. So overall, I think it is quite safe. Also, another perk of living in China as a woman for me is that for the most part, I can wear whatever I want and go out confidently without being worried that somebody's going to harass me or catcall me. Now, there's this weird thing in China, like when it comes to skirts and shorts, you can wear them as short as you please, and for the most part, nobody bats an eye. But for whatever reason, when it comes to your shoulders and cleavage, that's when they draw the line. But I never was harassed for it, but one time at work they asked me to wear like a cardigan or something because I just wore a shirt that didn't even have a cleavage, but like my shoulders were somewhat exposed, and that for them was like a no-no. So yes, for the most part, you don't have to worry about your safety when you're living in China. You can go out as late as you want and you can wear pretty much whatever you want as long as your junk is not out, and it is not a problem. But again, I'm drawing these conclusions only based on my own experiences, so feel free to disagree if you felt unsafe in China, because everyone's experiences are different and these are just based on my experiences only. Number 2. Public transportation. Now, in my opinion, public transportation in China is probably the best in the world. It is really cheap and convenient, and for that, I really love it. Like, literally, if you want to travel around China, you can get a fast train to go from point A to point B, and it'll cost you a lot less than a plane ticket would cost you. And also, their subway system is amazing, and it's the best way to get from point A to point B and to avoid the traffic. So I really love it. It's convenient, it's cheap, it is absolutely the best. My only complaint would be that it can get very crowded, and honestly I really hate it, but still it is better than getting an Uber and just getting stuck in traffic. You can just use a subway, so having that option, it's always good. I also love the fact that you can rent bicycles and they're almost like everywhere, and this is good for your health, and you can get from one point to another. Very convenient, very cheap. Also love that. Number 3, Taobao. Taobao has to be one of my favorite things about China. You can buy anything you want on Taobao, and I'm not over exaggerating. Like, if you have lived in China and used Taobao, I'm pretty sure you can attest to this. Delivery usually takes 2 to 3 days, which is quite quick in my opinion. My only problem with Taobao is that, for example, if you want to buy clothes on Taobao, you have to keep in mind that everything is smaller in China. So for example, say you were medium in Europe or US, you probably have to order like large or extra large on Taobao. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And because of this, I personally prefer shopping in malls for clothes and shoes. But for everything else, pretty much I can use Taobao. It's very convenient and easy. Also on this platform, they often have like discounts and sales, like 11.11 for example, and you can buy like even some designer stuff, or you can buy some gadgets, anything you want, and you can get a decent discount on it. So that's another reason why I really love Taobao. Number Number 4, cost of living. For me personally, living in China is cheaper than living in my own country. Overall, I think cost of living in China is relatively low. And like I said, there are like a lot of options in China. Like for example, when it comes to shopping, you can shop on Taobao and you can save a lot of money just by shopping on Taobao. When it comes to food, for example, if you like or can tolerate Chinese food, it's relatively cheap. You can order takeout almost every day and it won't cost you that much. But yes, if you, for example, like Western food, then you would have to overpay for it. But overall, you can live quite cheaply in China. So for example, if you have a job here, you can probably save a lot of money just by, shopping on Taobao and eating Chinese food, which is not very expensive. You can live somewhat comfortably and you can also save money on top of that. But also, if you are a student, you can live in China comfortably too, in my opinion, because China, it's not that expensive. Now, obviously, there are people who are spendy, who enjoy, finer things in life. And yes, it can be expensive. It depends on who you are as a person. But if we're talking about just living comfortably, like you're not starving, you're not depriving yourself of goods, like say for breakfast, if you can have like 1 or 2 steam buns, that would probably be like 5 kwai. And then for transportation, you can use bicycles, buses, or subways. It is also relatively cheap. And then maybe your lunch can cost you in a canteen, for example, like anywhere from 15 to 20 kwai, again in a canteen. And if you want to order a takeout, maybe it'll be like 30 kwai. So if it costs another 30 kwai for dinner, it would cost you like 65 RMB per day for your food. And if this is too expensive, you can always cook at home, which is a lot cheaper. And vegetables and fruits in China are relatively cheap. Like for example, they're a lot cheaper than in my country. So there are ways to live comfortably, like I said, without depriving yourself. Number 5, travel. I think China is a great country for people who enjoy traveling because it is quite big and beautiful. There are a lot of things that you can explore here, and also traveling within the country is relatively cheap. So it's a great option for those of us who like traveling. Also, if you would like to go outside of China to countries like Philippines, Japan, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, it can be relatively cheap. Actually, it is quite cheap to travel from China to those countries. Like a lot of my friends, they enjoy traveling to these countries during winter holidays. And also, I think if you work in China and you make, Chinese RMB, goes a long way in some of these countries. So for that, I think is another reason why I love China. And this is it for today. And if you made it until the very end, thank you very much. And in the next video, I think I will talk about 5 things that I dislike about China. Until next time.